When I first put a call out for video ideas around England, so many people suggested bell ringing. It is much more complicated than just playing a tune, and also dangerous if you do it wrong. No matter where you are in England, there will be a church with a bell tower not too far away. You'll hear church bells on Sundays in almost every town and village. At Worcester Cathedral, early in the morning before the Sunday service, I met the ringing master, Darren, and the first thing we did was go up to the top of the tower.
That's beautiful. I think I can see the rainstorm coming in.
Yeah, probably in about 10 minutes that'll be over the cathedral.
Oh, never mind. Shall we go and see some bells?
We'll go down.
All right.
There is an unmistakable sound to English church bells because instead of one person playing a particular song, there's a different person ringing each bell, and together they're playing mathematical patterns. It's called change ringing, which is where we get the phrase ringing the changes. There are so many words and phrases in English that come from bell ringing.
When the bells are ringing, you can feel the tower moving a few inches in all directions.
Yeah, you can. There's enough mass in those bells, they swing the whole cathedral tower.
Yeah, so our tower moves a bit more than most towers. It's still perfectly safe, but it's quite noticeable up here.
It felt like being in a very slight earthquake every time the biggest bell, the tenor bell, rang. Which brings up the obvious question, how big are these bells? We put on ear defenders and went down a level into the belfry.
They all stopped so perfectly.
Yeah, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes one carries on, but they managed it just right there. So this is the biggest one that we ring. That weighs 2.5 tons.
Do you know which foundry?
Taylor's Foundry in Loughborough.
I was there a couple of weeks ago.
Those bells were made by the same foundry I visited at the start of the road trip, and they are colossal. They're making the tower shake because the largest one is 2.5 tons. You'll notice they've all been left pointing upwards. More on that in a minute.
So they were all cast in 1928, and so they're coming up to 100 years old, and they're one of the finest sounding sets in the world, so we're really lucky here at Worcester Cathedral to have these.
Wow.
So we'll get a better view from around here of what...
I mean, that was a pretty good view. I could feel the wind coming from them.
We climbed up to an overlook, and Darren texted down to ask the bell ringers for another quick ring. We'll meet them in a minute. It was Sunday morning, so this wasn't going to be unexpected for everyone around in Worcester.
When they get ready to go, you might see the tenor start rocking because it's so heavy. You have to bounce it before it will go.
Right.
And then, yes, that will be the first bell, the smallest one, the treble, to ring. So he's getting ready to go, or
there
she.
we go.
That was one of the loudest things I've ever heard. You can feel it in your bones, in your internal organs. The sound hits you, particularly every time the big tenor bell goes. Change ringing starts and ends with a scale, highest to lowest, and in between plays about with that pattern.
That's magic. How on earth?
There are actually 16 ringing bells because we have some semitones. You can't ring them all at the same time. It doesn't give you a true scale. But we can swap particular bells for a sharp or a flat version of it and get a different scale. And actually, we're the only tower in the world that can produce a harmonic minor ring of 10.
I don't know what that is, and it sounds impressive.
It sounds impressive, and it sounds fantastic. It's a mournful sound, a minor key, so we ring them for remembrance and other mournful occasions.
I regret making a joke about that now. I've got to ask what the pipe's for.
That's for sound. It's actually an experiment at the moment, but that particular bell is a bit quiet in the room that we ring from, and that's a way of trying to get more sound downstairs. It hasn't solved the problem yet, but it's a bit of a trial and error sort of experiment. But that's what it's for.
Each of those bells is connected by a long rope down to the ringing chamber. And after a lot more stairs, that was our next stop. And I was there just in time for the next set of changes. For British folks a bit older than me, the basics of bell ringing were just kind of general knowledge. Of course, everyone knew how church bells worked. The idea of bells and bell ropes and it being dangerous if you got it wrong. That didn't need any explanation, to the point where it was a comedy trope. 1960s slapstick police comedy Carry On Constable showed a bungling policeman pulling on the Sally, the fluffy bit of the rope, and being hoisted up into the rafters. And 1980s sitcom Allo Allo, set in France in the Second World War, had a scene where the comedy villains, Gestapo officers disguised as monks. It was the 80s. They also end up dangling from the bell ropes. No one had to explain what those ropes were or even what bell ringing was. It was assumed the audience would understand. Both of those scenes are wildly inaccurate, by the way, for two reasons. First, as soon as the bell rope started to pull you up, you'd let go, probably before your feet even left the ground. If for some reason you clung on, you might be pulled up by the rising rope, but then you would come back down. Unless, of course, there was a ceiling, like there is in the Worcester Cathedral ringing room, in which case you'd break both your wrists and probably your arms when you hit that ceiling. The rope would carry on, giving you friction burns, but you'd let go, fall back down and break your legs, or worse. But that's not funny. And back when most people knew how the basics of bell ringing worked, being hauled up into the tower was a silly what-if punchline. But this stuff is dangerous if you don't treat it with respect. But the second reason those scenes are inaccurate, most of the time, those bell ropes are not live, and they're never left unattended if they are. You wouldn't be able to just stumble across a dangerous bell rope left abandoned. And to explain that, I have this prop. So, most of the time, the bells are stored pointing down. The rope is attached to this wheel, which is attached to the bell, which can spin 360 degrees. And remember, that bell weighs tons. So it's not a case of pull it and it'll ring. Instead, it's like pushing a kid on a swing. You have to pull and rock the bell a little, and then pull again at the right time, rock it a little bit more, again and again and again, and ring the bell up. And eventually, there'll be enough energy in the system, it'll be almost doing a full revolution, and it will click just into place on what's called the stay. When we went into the belfry, that's where all the bells were, on their stays, potential energy in the system, ready to go. That's when it's dangerous. With a slight pull on those bell ropes, tons of bell will start to swing, and at that point, it's going. The bell will turn and the rope will come down. The bell will swing past the centre point, the rope starts going back up, and the clapper, the thing in the middle here that hits the bell, will get a ring. Which is where we get the British phrase, going like the clappers. But that bell is not going to stop. There's only a little bit of friction in the system, so it'll reach the other side, and like a kid on a swing, it will come back down again, swing the other way, the clapper will hit the other side, the bell will ring again, and so on, and so on, and so on. The job of a bell ringer is not like playing a piano or guitar. It's adjusting the timing of one part of a complicated system, one bell, pulling on the rope just right to add or subtract energy from the system, to hold the bell just on its tipping point for a moment to slow it down, or to pull harder to speed it up, or to add enough energy that the bell will reach the stay and stop, but not hit it too hard, because that stay can be broken, and that's a couple of £100 in repair bills. So, no pressure. Oh, and also, you have to watch what the other people are doing and kind of do mental arithmetic at the same time. What Darren's about to say will make sense in a moment.
So they were ringing call changes where one person actually tells the bells when they have to swap. But when you were upstairs, you were recording a method, so they will just say start, and everybody knows what they have to do, and they just do it.
By this point, it was nearly time for the Sunday service downstairs in the cathedral. So Darren took up position as ringing master, and after they started with the initial high to low scale, he said some numbers.
8 to 9.
Those numbers are instructions to swap bells in the current sequence.
10 to 11.
So 10 and 11 just swap positions.
8 to 11.
And only bells that are currently next to each other in the sequence can swap. If you wanted to move 1 to 4, you'd have to go through 2 and 3 first. That's the basic rules of traditional change ringing, which sounds simple, but the ringing master's job is to run through a set of permutations, either to fill the time available and return to the initial scale to finish, or to run a particular sequence. When Darren said recording a method earlier, that's where all the bell ringers are working from memory. Oh, and just to make it even more complicated, for special events, bell ringers might run through every possible permutation of some of the bells or all of the bells. That could be maybe 5,000 changes, taking 3 or 4 hours. It'll be different for each church, but whatever it is, the ringing master just has to remember the rules and the patterns, and everyone has to keep in time for hours. The plaques on the walls in that room, they're to commemorate times when that happened for royal weddings or other major events. This, however, was a regular Sunday, so they kept going until hour, all steady, each one following another, keeping time until Darren brought it back to the scale.
4 to 5. Stand. All right, thanks very much, everyone.
I think I might know why there's a big overlap in my audience and bell ringers. It's physical but meditative. It involves a little maths and paying attention and maybe some notation. It's hard work that can also get you into a flow state. I talked to Chris, who's been ringing bells at Worcester Cathedral for 33 years.
4 years ago, sadly, I got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So ringing here helps me to slow down the rate of deterioration. Because I'm looking down the barrels of being wheelchair bound in about 15 years' time. And that scares the life out of me. So by coming here, doing the physical exercise and the mental maths to ring the methods is helping slow the deterioration down.
And it is physical work to
It is. It's physical work. It helps me stay active. And when you've got a disease, it's important to keep active as much as you can. So I go to the gym 3 times a week. I come up here, and learning the mathematical sequences and memorising them in your head helps to slow the rate of dementia, which is part of Parkinson's, down.
That is, it's a scary thing to be looking at.
It's a scary one. I'm only 53, so I still want to be ringing here in 10 years' time.
The service down in the cathedral would last about an hour, and I had until the end of it to learn the ropes well enough that they'd let me be part of an actual brief ring. We couldn't disturb the church service with bells, of course, but that's fine because Worcester Cathedral is one of the very few places in the world with a simulator. So now, all I have to do is get good enough in the next hour that they'll let me on the actual bells. We'll see the simulator in just a moment, but first, I'm really trying to avoid clickbait titles and thumbnails in this series, but the temptation is always there. I hope I'm on the right side of the line though, and when Ground News reached out to be a sponsor, I jumped at the chance because it feels like we're trying to do similar things. It can feel like a lot of the media is kind of broken right now. Some stories get amplified while other stories get buried. So Ground News's platform pulls in thousands of articles from around the world to show you how different parts of the political spectrum rewrite and reframe the same story. It shows you who's covering what, how they're spinning it, who might be conspicuously silent, bias ratings, headline comparisons, reliability scores, along with independent reports on funding and ownership. For example, just a few weeks ago, Google lost its final appeal against a €4.7 billion fine for abusing its market position with Android. I'd missed that story entirely. I caught it because of Ground News. More than 250 sources reported on it. Left-leaning ones tended to frame the fine as a win for the EU and holding big tech to account. Right-leaning sources tended to frame it as heavy-handed outreach. The feature I keep coming back to is the blind spot feed, which highlights things that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum, so you can find stories that might be outside your bubble entirely. Even if you do try to get your news from not clickbait sources, stories still end up being sent around in group chats and posted to social media, and they are going to flicker into your attention. Having a subscription to Ground News means that I can stop and think, is someone trying to enrage me here? What's the context? I've been using Ground News for a few months now, and it's still in the same place where my thumb used to go to reflexively browse social media. You can join me and subscribe to Ground News right now with 40% off their Vantage plan by scanning the QR code or going to ground.news/Tom. Okay, time for me to learn how to ring a bell. The teaching room is below the ringing room, and it is more or less a copy, except that instead of the regular bells, it has 8 weighted dumb bells. Dumb meaning silent, which is offensive if it's about a person today, thanks mostly to Americans using it to mean stupid, but a dumb bell is a silenced bell. A heavy weight spinning around. And yes, that's probably why the weights people use in the gym are called dumbbells. Bell ringing is everywhere in English. Anyway, Darren set up one dumbbell into the up position, rested it on the stay, and tried to teach how to safely ring a bell to someone with no upper body strength and poor hand-eye coordination.
So to ring a bell, there are 2 strokes, we call them.
Okay.
There's the hand stroke, which is when you pull the sally. This roughly bit's called the sally.
Okay.
And then there's the back stroke, which is when you're pulling on this bit. So if I just show you that.
And now, a montage. 2 reasons. First, because I didn't turn the microphones on for this. In the background, there is a very loud and very large ticking clock, which will actually be important again later in the road trip series, so I thought I'd show it to you now. But second, because it is just a huge amount of practice and getting the muscle memory right. So first, I learned the backstroke.
A bit too hard. Oh, so you touched the stone.
Okay,
So that's bad. It's okay, you didn't bang it. So just go a bit further up an inch or so. Out there. Okay, we'll go again.
It's not about pulling hard on the rope. You don't have to pull hard. It's about timing, about understanding what's going on above your head and adding or subtracting energy. The ringing sound you can hear in the footage, by the way, is from the laptop just behind. It can't be heard outside the room. We are not bothering the churchgoers below. Don't encourage persistently. No, just go a little bit, just pull it.
Which is why you can see ringers and the 80s and 90s ringing bells. They know how to do it super efficiently and not fighting against it.
After 15 minutes of that, it was time to learn the other half of the movement, pulling the sally.
This part here, once you pull it, it is going to go no matter what. So you have to let go, otherwise it will be pulled up with it.
Right, because the bell is currently up.
It's currently set like that. Once you pull the sally, it tips it over the balance point. Whatever it's going.
That's going.
Yeah.
Do not hold the sally. No. The simulator isn't quite as dangerous as the actual bells, but it can still hurt you if you're not sensible.
So the next thing is to try and catch the sally. You can't catch it when it's on the way down.
Okay.
You have to wait for the bob. It will rise a bit. That's the point you can catch it, and then you pull it again.
This was difficult. Not physically, just mentally, trying to keep a steady pace, trying to keep the system in balance and in time. After 10 minutes or so, Darren was just holding the sally, putting in no force, and I was catching it, but he was still holding it just in case. And he had to keep reminding me to keep my eyes forward, not up. Looking up doesn't help. And when you're actually ringing, you need to look at the other people to keep precise time.
You're also kind of looking at all the other rings around you.
Why does that feel a bit like juggling?
Yes.
I feel like let's get another.
Similar.
Jugglers have precise timing, physical skills, patterns that change over time and can have notation and also overlap massively with mathematics nerds. If you enjoy juggling, you may enjoy bell ringing and vice versa. Next job, put everything together. It went well for a little while, and then I got a bit startled. I got tangled in that roof. I didn't get... Oh, no, hold on, give me a second. Give me a second. Yeah, get back to you.
That's okay.
There are just 2 things that worried me in sequence there.
Yeah.
One is, I felt that snatch up.
Yeah.
And the other was, the rope, very briefly, now I don't want the time dangerous, but the rope went like that.
Right, yeah.
And I just had this moment, I get back and pull it right.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
It can spook you when you're not used to it.
One final thing to learn, how to hold the bell on its balance point. Pause here. Yeah, you can hold that for quite a while, can't you?
And sometimes you do. You have to wait there for ages.
Yeah.
When you just get to that balance point, it's quite happy there.
But if the bell is coming towards you...
You've got to go.
Gotta go.
Yeah, do not try and push it back up.
The weird thing is, you can't pause the bell if you haven't pulled hard enough before. It feels like if you want to stop, you should pull less. But no, the way to stop is to pull just enough that the bell can rest on the stay without breaking it. Pulling less means it'll just start swinging back and forth.
And then you've got to think of something very quickly.
Right.
And you can't wait.
Yeah.
So just pull harder is the rule. On the
but
next,
if you pull too hard, you're going to hit the stay.
Yeah, that's right. So
right.
But if you can't pause, then you need to pull on the next possible opportunity a bit harder.
Okay.
Whichever stroke it is.
All right.
So shall we leave it there?
I'll leave it with you. The last challenge of the day then. With about an hour's training, I joined the bell ringers for an attempt with the real bells. If I got this wrong, half of Worcester would hear it. That's not an exaggeration. It's about 50,000 people who live and work within the range of those bells. So look, I know this isn't going to be great. If I get 1 or 2 rings in and don't panic, I'll be happy, but wish me luck. 8 bell ringers, one of which is me, with Darren ready to step in the moment I look like I'm not in control of 2 tons of metal above me. He's always going to grab the Sally, just for safety, but he won't actually pull on it unless he needs to.
I'm sweating and I'm not entirely sure that's the climb up the stairs.
You'll be fine. We're going to be watching John, because we want to ring just after him every time.
John in the yellow, John in the blue?
Number 2.
John in the blue,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Already?
So we look to them. I will be on the Sally with you.
Okay. Wait, I've got to also... Okay.
So look and pull. We'll pull just after John. You can still face the middle.
Okay.
Just
I've got to keep both in... Okay.
Pressure on. 50,000 people listening, whether they want to or not.
Already, look to the treble. She's going. She's gone.
No, I've lost that
okay.
immediately. That's on you.
So you Stan. You just stopped for a minute.
I just stopped.
Yeah.
I just had... no, that did not go well.
That's all right. We'll try again.
Sorry, folks. That was me just having a bit of a panic.
It's the fun of hearing all the other bells ringing with you.
Yep, okay, so...
So do that, but don't stop.
Just don't stop. Don't stop. That's a... Yeah.
I don't have an explanation for that, other than fumbling under the pressure. My hand wasn't quite in the right place, and I didn't have the muscle memory to correct it. Attempt number 2.
Already, look to the treble. Going. Gone.
Keep looking at number 2. So pause a bit more.
You can tell on the wide shot, my timing is completely out. I've lost track of when and how hard to pull, and the bell is doing the timing for me.
I'm going to hand that to you. That's yours.
Okay. Stand. So that was fine, but you weren't going up in a foot backstroke.
Right, so I needed to put more power into that?
You just weren't pausing at backstroke.
Not
So you were pulling
pausing?
hard there, but then just bringing it back down like this. You didn't do the pause.
I didn't do the pause.
So wait, and then bring it
Okay.
down.
It wasn't quite 3 strikes and I'm out, but I did not want to outstay my welcome.
This is my last attempt. Thank you, folks. Thank you for letting a novice on your bells.
So good pull on the first Sally,
Yeah.
and make sure you're up and pause at backstroke,
Okay.
and watch John.
Okay.
Okay.
Look to the treble. Going. Gone.
Can you see the grin on my face? Just for a moment, just briefly, I had it.
Not quite.
Stand.
It's on you.
There you go.
Thank you so much, folks. That was an absolute privilege.
Good.
If you're in England or a few other parts of the world and you'd like to try bell ringing, your local church is almost certainly looking for volunteers, and you don't have to be religious. Next time, or right now on Nebula, a trip to a World Heritage Site with an angle finder and a slightly unhinged conspiracy theory.